Is it worth replacing the main board on an old Ender 3 for a silent type, and what difference does it make? In this video, we're going to look at how we install one, and we're going to take a sound measurement before and after and do a comparison. So I've got here an old Ender 3. I think this is actually my first Ender 3 that I bought. I've upgraded the extruder, springs, Capricorn tube, the basic stuff, but other than that it's fairly stock, and it's still got the old main board in it. I think it's 1.47, something like that. I've bought a Creality silent board. There is other makes, Big Tree Tech, a few others, but I've got the Creality one. In this video we're going to show how we install it, but first we're going to take a measurement using a simple phone app to measure the decibels. And then after we've changed it over, we'll do another comparison and see what difference it actually makes. So you can probably hear it already, just idling with the power on. These make a little bit of noise, and if I measure it on my app, it's coming in at 59 decibels. So we'll make a note of that. Now I've set a print going, it's going to start printing in a minute, and we'll take another measurement and see how much noise it makes when it's actually printing. So with the bed moving, it's coming in around 65. Now printing, it's going between 67 and 70 decibels. So let's say 68, 69 decibels as it's printing. Okay, I'll stop this now and we'll look at how we install this silent board. So as you can see, this Ender 3, it's a bit of a workhorse. It does get used a lot. The first thing we want to do, before we start tipping this machine up, one thing, you forget it a lot, everyone does it, you leave this spool on, you tip your machine up and the spool goes flying across the floor, okay? So let's get rid of this, snip it, take it off. And now we can start looking into this. Okay, so the main board lives in this box here. We need to undo a few screws and we'll get access to it easy enough. I've already taken this screw out the top. I'm going to tilt it up now. We could just lift this board away. It is connected to this fan, but the fans need to be disconnected from the board anyway. So I'm going to remove that. And now you can see our main board, and there it is. So one thing you might want to do is take a photograph at this stage, just so you can see where all the wires are connected. But when you pull them out, you will see, at least on this one, we have a tag there. If you can see that, it's got the letter E on it. And on the board where it came out, it's got the letter E. So it's fairly idiot-proof. And if we look at the new board, it does come with a manual that tells us where to connect things. So E, which is extrusion, Z, Y, X. Okay, so it's going to be a fairly simple process. Now, it's a good idea not to pull these connectors out with a wire if you can get to it. And some of them are glued in. In this case, it's got some looks like hot glue that's sticking them in. So if you just pull with the wires, you could actually pull the wire out the connector. So when you've got these connectors pulled out, you'll end up with these other power connections. And these need a small screwdriver just to undo them and get them out. Again, Creality have glued these cables in. There we go. So all these cables are disconnected now. We've got the large rainbow cable there, which we'll just pull out. And now we can see the original motherboard there. So I can undo these screws. We've got 4 screws in total here. And there we go. If you want to wear an anti-static band or something like that, it's up to you. I don't actually have anything to connect it to really, so I'm just going to be careful. But that is the new Creality board there. And this is version 4.27. If we put them side by side, they're actually fairly similar. But this one, hopefully, it will be a lot quieter. Now, if you're going to throw this away, do remember to take any cards out. Now, in order to seat it in the right place, you can use the connections on the top. So you've got your card connection and your power connection. And you can use the positions of those to find the correct seating point. And I'm sure this is a lot less fiddly if you're not actually trying to film it at the same time. So, got the first screw in now. Okay, so now it's time to reconnect these. And we'll check our manual just to make sure everything's going in the correct place. First thing I'm going to do is the power connection. So a power outlet down here, and we've got plus and minus. So the plus is a red and the minus is a black. And it's these two here which will go just into these green connectors. And give it just a slight little tug, not hard, just enough to check that it is actually in place and connected. And now we'll look at these wired connections running up the side. And you can see there's a plus at the bottom. So it's going to be plus, minus, and then the top two are the nozzle, which I believe are both this red kind of braided wire. Okay, so first one is shown as a normal fan port. So that's going to be these two thin red and black wires here, with the red being the plus on the bottom. We've got our thin red wire, which is the fan. Fan wires are only thin wires, as you can see, kind of that gauge wire. There's not much current going through those. The next ones are these thicker gauge wires here, which will be for the hotbed. And again, plus on the bottom in this orientation and black for minus on the top. Okay, so give those a little test, and they're in. And now we've got these two braided red wires, which are going to the nozzle. And the orientation of it doesn't matter, they're both red, so you're not going to really know which way around they're going in. Okay, so all those wires are in snug. Now it's just a case of reconnecting all these push-fit connectors. I'll clear off any glue. I've also connected this fan connector into here. Now we're going to look at connecting this line here. So the bottom one, which is a preset port, we'll leave that empty as it was. The next one is going to be an X-axis switch. So we're looking for one of these with the X on, which is this one. And then above that we've got the Y. So again, fairly simple. Just looking for a lead with the Y on. And then Z. And above that, we've got the top two, we've got hotbed thermometer and nozzle thermometer. So these aren't actually labelled on mine, but what I can do is I can trace them back. So this one here, this white cable comes out of the same kind of braided cable cover as the two hotbed power wires. So this is going to be the hotbed thermometer, which leaves this one to go in the top. Okay. We're going to have our rainbow connector. And now we've got these stepper motor connectors here, which again are all labelled, so that makes it nice and easy. So we've got X at the bottom, Y, Z. And that just leaves our extruder. We've got E for extruder, which will go in there. Okay, so we'll do a quick check now. Make sure there's no wires that haven't been connected, nothing missing, and it all looks okay. We just need to connect this fan, which was on this plate piece, and that will go on this other controllable fan there. I'll tidy these wires up now. Now we can stand our machine upright again and put in any other screws. Okay, so let's test this now. Okay, so after I installed my card and I tried to print, the stepper motors wouldn't move, and it came up with a message about it was a homing error, homing failure. Now, just from experience, I know that's usually to do with firmware, okay? So that gave me a bit of a clue. And what I've done, I've gone onto the Creality website, which is this address. I'll put a link to this in the comment of this video, but basically it's always worth, when you do an upgrade, especially mainboard, just getting the latest firmware. So that was the first call with any kind of failure really. And what you do, you go to this page, this is Creality's firmware download, and we're looking for, this board was a 4.27. So you can see 4.27 BL Touch. I don't use a BL Touch. If you do, that's the one you want. So I wanted this one here, 427 without accessories. Click download, download that, and you'll get a zip file. In your zip file, you'll have this file here, and all you do is you copy that onto the memory card that you used to print. Make sure there's no other bin files on there. With your printer turned off, put the card in with this file on it, turn your printer on, and it will see this and it will update the firmware. Let that do its thing, let it install it, it'll tell you firmware updated, something like that, and then it should work. Mine works straight away after that. So if you get the issue where it's getting this homing failure after you've installed a new card, that's what you should do. And this 4.27, I read this off the board, it says it on the board, so if yours says something else, just when you go to the Creality site, look for whichever board you've installed. Okay, so it's up and running again now, it's idling again. I can still hear this noise, but I know for a fact with this, because it's an old printer, the noise is all coming from this fan. I'll probably need to replace these fans. In terms of noise from the motherboard, it's definitely a lot quieter. So it's definitely quieter. As I said, the noise that's coming from it now is primarily that fan. Wow. So the noise it's making printing now is 53 decibels. It was 67 decibels before. It was 59 decibels just idling. Yeah, 53 decibels. That's great. That's amazing. So definitely an upgrade worth doing. Easy to do. The only tricky thing was updating the firmware, which again, some people seem to have to do, some people don't. I think it's probably just a batch was sent out with different firmware. Or it's just a case of me having an older printer. Easy to do though, takes 2 minutes. You should really update the firmware anyway. So yeah, easy upgrade and well worth doing. Definitely gets a thumbs up. So I think next time we're going to look at upgrading these fans, putting in new ones and making it even quieter.